Hello. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the first in a new series on LinkedIn Live. This week, we're talking about how to run your own show. We're talking about what you need to know about starting and growing your own business right now. I am your host, David J.P. Fisher. That is a mouthful. I just go by D Fish or D. I hope that wherever you are live. Thank you so much. And in fact, I now have a nice little test to make sure that I am actually coming to you, because we had some technical difficulties last week. If you get a chance, if you're live with us right now, go ahead and me from. If you're here in Chicago, we're in Chicago, or wherever in the world you are, just say hi, because again, that lets us know that this is working. I would appreciate that for sure. Watching the recording later, hey, thank you so much for taking a few minutes of your day to watch this recording. Just to remind everybody, we have all of our LinkedIn Live series listed on our, because I do actually see Sean is here, so he'll get mad if I don't put this up. But you can find it all on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/user/ series on Zen in sales, how to build empathy in sales. We've looked at the 6 sales skills you need to succeed in 2020. We've talked about networking. We've talked about how to manage uncertainty, still super relevant. So check those out. There's a lot of great stuff. I'm really proud of the work we've done these last 2 months. And by the way, thank you. Hey, Josh, welcome. Ryan, what's up? Sean, you're there coming at us. Again, appreciate it. And hey, Robert, thanks for chiming in as well. I am actually really excited about this topic this week. Not like I'm not. I'm waiting for me to be like, I'm not really that excited about this topic, but I'm going to talk about it for a week. No, that's not going to happen, right? I'm really excited about talking to everybody about this topic of how to start and really how to grow a business right now. And let me give you a little background of why I think this is so relevant. So I started Rockstar Consulting as a solopreneur practice in 2006. So we've been going for about 15 years. I've had lots of help. I've worked with lots of interns and assistants and partners as far as helping me with things that I can't do. But I've really kind of kept things lean and mean through the years. That was my goal, to build this practice, to not only be able to run a business, to do some really cool things, obviously pay some bills and then some, but also to pursue other interests and, start a family, have time to spend with my family, all that kind of good stuff. So I've been doing it for about 15 years. And I've figured out some shortcuts. Those shortcuts took me about 15 years to figure out, so I guess that's not so short. But I was also thinking back to 2008. Recession of the 2000s, or the first big one, driven by the real estate crisis. And I'd been in business about 2 or 3 years at that point, still kind of getting my feet under me, figuring things out. But it struck me how quickly all of a sudden there were tons of new businesses springing up, independent marketing consultants and sales experts and all of these other people who were hanging a shingle, because part of it was people got laid off and they were trying to figure out how to make some money before things picked back up, which is, I get that. And sometimes people had gotten laid off and were like, hey, I always wanted to try to pursue my interests, my dreams. This was my goal, start my own show. I'm going to do it now. So I saw this explosion, which was great, because part of what I do is professional coaching for salespeople and small business owners and entrepreneurs. So it was good for me. I could help these people. But in some ways, I was still figuring things out by myself. And so I saw what's happening now with unemployment. I think we're going to get a lot of people who are starting their own show again. And so I want to actually have some content out there that I can point people to and go, hey, here are some things to think about as you do that. At the same time, I really want to make this relevant and I want to make it resonate with people who have been on their own for a while. Maybe that's 6 months, a year, a couple of years, to give you some tools that can help you continue to build your business and continue to refine how you're working. Let me be very clear. We have 5 sessions this week They last about 20 to 25 minutes at most, unless I'm really on a tear and I just keep talking. So I'm not going to teach you everything. I'm not going to, teach you all you need to know, but I want to really focus on a couple things: mindsets, systems, and tools that you can put into your business that will, again, hopefully prevent you from making some of the mistakes I made and help you kind of ramp up a little faster than I did. But also just to, give you some comfort, I think, and that may sound like a strange word, but I think that the idea of an entrepreneur or a business owner, there are many, many different paths that an entrepreneur or a business owner could take. It looks a lot of different ways, but I think we only see kind of a few stereotypes. Like the stereotype of the entrepreneur is somebody who's, I'm going to start the next tech unicorn, and I'm going to work 80 hours a week, and I'm trying to build people. I'm going to try to get investors and build capital and build the next Uber. Nothing wrong with that. If that's what you're trying to do, great. But that's not a path that everyone wants to take. And I think that there's a lot of people, maybe you, maybe some of who you want to do what you are good at, what you like to do. You want to be a professional. You've got a skill. You want to offer that to your prospective clients, and clients make money, get paid to do that. But you also don't necessarily want to build a large organization. You don't want to build a big business. I ran a sales company right out of college, and at certain points would have up to 100 salespeople working for me. So when I started Rockstar, I was very much like, I don't know if I want to have those headaches. That's not really for me right now. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Maybe I'll change my mind in 5 years and do that. But again, for the last 15, I've really just kind of focused on how to kind of provide services to people that, they can take advantage of my expertise, my skills, help them in their professional lives, and I can pay the bills, right? And then some. That's kind of the goal. So that's really the approach I want to take this week is, the things we'll talk about can definitely help you if you're trying to ramp up a huge, large organization, for sure. But this is also speaking to a lot of the professionals out there who are maybe you're looking around going, gosh, I'd like to be able to have a lifestyle where maybe I work from home part of the time, or, as opposed to just all the time right now, but I'm getting to spend time with my family, getting a chance to take care of my physical and mental health, pursue other interests, take care of all the expenses and live well. But also be able to, again, pursue things that interest me, all that kind of good stuff. So that's what we're gonna look at this week. And I think that this is also a good time, if you haven't run a business for a while, to kind of go back to the basics. I know that I am, for sure. We hear this word pivot a lot right now, which I think is kind of funny. I mean, there's a lot of the verbiage around everything that's happening with the pandemic, with the accompanying financial breakdown, whatever you want to call it, the economic crisis. And there's all these wonderful buzzwords like pivot. And I think many of us should be pivoting. I am too, but I'm not pivoting. I'm going, oh crap. Like what I was doing I can't get paid to do that anymore. I better figure out something else that somebody will pay me for, right? I'm not pivoting. I'm a professional speaker. There's not going to be conferences in person for a while. I better up my virtual game. If that's what pivoting is, great. Let's just call it what it is. Anyway, so as I said, it's a good time for, even if you've been around a while, you can kind of re-examine things and go, okay, what do I need to look at? What do I need to maybe look at with a new perspective or a fresh pair of eyes so that I can be more successful? Hey, Michelle, thanks for jumping on. I know it's still early for you out on the West Coast. So thanks for joining me. So what we're going to talk about, as I said, is mindsets, processes, or systems, kind of however you want to say that, and tools throughout the week. To give you a really quick syllabus, today I want to look at 3 questions that you should be asking if you're going to get started, or again, if you want to refocus what you're doing. Tomorrow, we're going to talk in session 2, we're going to talk about a different approach to money, to finances for small businesses, and different. What I mean by that is it's not necessarily a mindset that's talked about a lot, but it's, I think, a really important one for most small business owners and entrepreneurs. And so I want to be the person to share that mindset with you. Wednesday, we're going to talk about sales and marketing. Again, we're going to do it in 20 minutes. So I'm not going to like go deep into that. I mean, this is something that, I talk about with my clients a lot. So for example, and I should probably hide this. I had this up forever. There we go. One thing I do, and I'm going to plug a little bit this week, is I do have a coaching group for small business owners, solo professionals, freelancers, and entrepreneurs that focuses really on sales. It's called the Deep Fish Selling Launchpad. I'll talk about that more. But again, if you're looking for more of this stuff, let me know. But I want to give you at least a couple high-level ideas that you can implement right away. The next session on Thursday, we're going to be looking at literally all the tools and technology that I use to run a solo practice. Because I do think that, being a freelancer, being a solo professional wouldn't have been possible 10 or 15 years ago. Or it would have been, let me take it back. Absolutely, it was possible. People were doing it. It was a lot harder. Now, in some ways, we're able to outsource so many different parts of our business. It can actually be overwhelming. So I'm going to go through some really simple ways that you can actually take some of the stress off of the work you're doing. And then finally, the last thing on Friday, I just want to look and go back to mindset and really look at what growth looks like for most small business owners, for most solo professionals. And it's a little different than what you might expect and what you hope for. Spoiler alert, it's not a hockey stick. It just doesn't go really fast one day. So that's what I'll be covering. I hope that you can join me as we go through the week. Every day, 11:30 CST. Tell your friends. But let's look at what we're going to go through today. So we're going to look at just 3 simple questions that I want you to ask. And again, if you're just on the front end of starting your own practice, fantastic. And if you've been doing this a while, again, I went through this exercise a few days ago, and it was really helpful for me. But it was 3 simple questions. So the first is this. And you got to write these down. I'm a big fan of writing things down or typing it out because we live in our brains way too much, and things can make sense in our brain. When we actually have to communicate them is when it has to have clarity, when you actually have to use words. This is why it's sometimes be great if you do have a friend or a spouse who's not in the same business world that you are. If you try to explain to them, that can be great. I sometimes have to explain things to my wife because she asked me a question and I go, well, it's obvious. And I stumble a little bit. So I go, okay, maybe I need to get clear. If you don't have a person around though, writing it out makes you use those words. So here's the first question. What will I provide? That's it. Very simple. What will I, or what do I provide as a service? And the reason why is, especially, and I'm looking at, there's a lot of really awesome people on the call already right now. Like I'm just looking at Ryan and Michelle. You guys popped up on the chat box, like who are great at this. When you're a service provider, especially, it can be a lot easier if you're just selling a product. You're like, hey, here's my widget. This is what I sell. But if you are a service provider, you actually can provide whatever you want, right? You might just say, well, I help people market. I help people get clear about their message. I help people with branding. I help people with their graphic design strategy. I help people with their business processes, whatever it might be. There's a lot of ways that can actually manifest itself. Instead of expecting your prospects, your clients, or people that are potential prospects when you're marketing, instead of having them figure it out, it's really important that you actually sit down and go, this is what I provide. Not only what you're going to help people with, but literally how you're going to do it. I remember one of the things that was actually really helpful when I started way back in 2006. Actually, it was late 2005 when I first decided to do this and then kicked off in 2006, is I actually wrote out what my coaching program was. And I kind of made it up a little bit. And I saw some of the ones, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have this many calls. I'm going to do this. We're talking about this. And it's going to go like that. And there's a lot of different ways to approach professional business coaching or sales coaching. I just picked one and said, this is what I'm going to do. And I've tweaked it over the years. But what it allowed me to do is then go to somebody in a networking meeting and they're like, oh, you're a business coach. What do you do? Well, I actually offer this coaching program that works this way. And then we talk about these things and it lasts for this long and you pay me this much money and we try to get these results. It made it a real thing. There's a wonderful, really nerdy word called reify, which if you have to take the SATs, it's good to know. But reify means to make an abstract concept real and concrete. So my goal was to reify coaching. Even, for example, as a professional speaker, I have to actually go, it's not just, hey, I'm going to come speak at your conference. I'm going to come and talk for this amount of time around these topics to drive these goals for your audience. The more specific you can get, the better. And if you can't answer that question, you're going to struggle. So answer that. Number 2 question, who will buy it? I mean, it seems pretty simple, right? But ask yourself, who's going to actually buy this from me? And this, by the way, especially if you are an experienced veteran business owner, do this exercise again, because things have probably changed, right? People that you thought were the market for your product or service and who were going to buy from you, who had the ability to buy from you, all of that might have changed. But I mentioned 2 things there. The first is think about who's going to buy from you. Who is the audience you can serve? Who wants it? Who wants what you're doing? Okay. And think about that demographic however you want to, whether it's a certain type of organization, a certain type of individual, a certain type of individual in a certain type of organization. The more clarity you bring to this, the better. But know who is actually going to be something that you can serve. The other thing then is can they pay me? And this is not something that a lot of us like to think about. 1, because sometimes we get squirrely around money. And 2, because we think we're worth it. We think we're worth whatever we charge, which is good. Confidence is good. But you have to ask, not only will they pay me, but can they pay me? One of the things that I often think about is not only the value that I bring, but I try to think about it in the terms of, so let's take my individual coaching clients, for example. And in fact, I see Michelle just may remember a conversation we had on the Beer Beats and Business podcast when she came on and was my guest. We talked about bro marketers, and there's these coaches and professionals that are they'll promise you the world, and they're like, our coaching program's only $10,000 or $5,000. You got to make a lot of money for $5,000 not to be a big deal, right? So if you think about what people are thinking about when they write the check to you, and I'm not saying that you charge $5,000, $10,000, whatever you charge, but just remember that people they're spending that with you and not somebody else. And so ask yourself, if I put myself in their shoes, does it make sense for them to write that check? It doesn't mean that it can't be a hard check to write. I have clients where I'm I know it's a hard check to write. That makes me really beholden to them and holds me accountable to really doing the best work I can for them. You don't have to make it easy, but it has to be doable. So just ask yourself, is that going to work? And this also, especially for if you're brand new or if you're pivoting right now, don't just think of the 1 or 2 prospective customers that are in your mind right now, because this is a human thing. We go, can I make that pivot? Is this how to say this? Can I do what I'm thinking of doing? And you think of the 1 or 2 people that are the big yes, the big fan of yours, the person who wants to work with you. And sometimes we think of just that 1 or 2 people and we go, well, then this is definitely going to work. And then we pursue that path. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. So what I'm going to suggest to you is what about my customers in 6 months? It's now October 2020. When I make this pivot, when I offer this service, is this still going to be viable in 6 or 8 months? Or am I just I'll give you an example here. I've talked to a number of people who have wanted to go into the business of selling masks, right? The face masks, whether they're importing them from China, from factories there, selling them right now. And there's a bit of a Wild West, unfortunately. It's a horrible situation that we're in, but so there's some opportunity. But what I've told them is I'm hey, in 6 months, that market is going to normalize, and the things that the margins that you're getting right now are probably going to, go away because, we'll have ramped up production. Some other players are in the game. So again, don't just assume that because you can do it now, you can do it in 6 months. Do that mental test. If it passes that, you're in good shape. Okay. And then the third thing, this sounds simple, but why are they going to buy it? What is the problem that you're going to solve? We're going to, again, talk about sales and marketing, especially in session 3 on Wednesday, but you've got to tell people, you got to be able to tell people why they should buy it. And to do that, you've got to be able to tell yourself, again, write it down, and not just this is going to help them. It has to be, because right now they're unable to bring in clients in a way that they thought they would. So this kind of marketing is going to be really helpful, right? If you're, in that example, digital marketer, like, what am I going to really help them do? Oh, I'm going to help them build a specific thing. If you're let's say you're an accountant, and there's a lot more than an accountant can do or a bookkeeper can do than just, figure out your taxes. But go, hey, this is why people are going to hire me to be their bookkeeper / accountant, because I'm going to actually look at their tax ramifications of their actions. I'm going to figure out all the PPP and EIDL and all the other alphabet soup that has come from the government as far as trying to support us businesses. And I'm going to be able to help them walk through that, make better decisions. I'm going to actually help them not only have some peace of mind because they'll do their taxes right. I'm going to do some strategy around their finances, help them make more money. Boom, right? But again, if you can't answer that honestly, you're going to struggle, right? And again, none of these are rocket science. None of these questions are rocket surgery, okay? But again, if you're first starting out, you need to ask these questions. If you're pivoting, you almost have to look at it as you're starting out. You have to ask these questions, and you have to keep asking them. Right. This is because here's the challenge: when you're on your own, nobody's going to ask them for you. Right. You're not. If you look at a larger organization, you look at a big company. There's people whose jobs. The marketing department thinks about the why. The sales department thinks about this. The CEO or the C-suite thinks about kind of the leadership 6 months, a year down the line. You get to, and you have to do all of these things. Okay. So those are 3 very simple questions, but the answers can lead you down a bunch of rabbit holes. The more you hold yourself to task now, the easier every time you talk to a prospect or customer, the easier that conversation will be, right? This is some of the strategy that actually helps you tactically on a day-to-day basis. All the way down again from how to do outreach to a prospect, to what to put on your website, to what to put on your LinkedIn profile, how to structure your offering, how to charge, all that kind of good stuff. A lot of times we want to jump forward where really needs to do this kind of unsexy stuff. So anyways, those are 3 ideas. I've been talking a lot today. I appreciate you spending a little bit of your Monday with me. I'm going to talk tomorrow, I said, about the mindset that helps you not waste money as a solo professional. I hope that you can join. Heather, as you said, I realized today that I have my camera right in front of the chat box. So I can't see any of the comments, or I just see names. Oh, but Heather, you are absolutely right. You are the primary stakeholder in your business. Actually, you're usually the only stakeholder. That's where a lot of the agility and that's where a lot of the autonomy comes from. But of course, that's also where a lot of the responsibility comes from as well. I always say that freedom and responsibility are 2 sides of the same coin. You want to have freedom, you got to have the responsibility as well. But I said, tomorrow we're going to talk about money. It's actually a very, very simple concept that I want to talk about, but I want to be the person to say, like, it's not all about just making a lot of money. It's really about what you keep, right? And sometimes that means just spending less and being a little smaller. Not always. But growth for growth's sakes isn't always the best approach for a solo professional. So we'll talk about how to approach the money mindset tomorrow. And again, if you can tell people about these, I'll do them all week at 11:30. If you know any solo professionals, I really appreciate you sharing this with your network. If there's somebody specific, just ping them real fast and say, hey, check this out, 11:30. There is no link, unfortunately, that I can just send to somebody to jump on this, but the notification pops up. You can also just tell people to go to my profile and look at my activity, and it'll pop up right at 11:30. This is something that they're still working out with LinkedIn Live. And, you know, if building your business is something that you are trying to work on right now, we've got a great community in our Selling Launchpad. This is a community of small business owners, solopreneurs, freelancers. And we talk about everything from networking and sales to marketing to professional development. This week we have a call, for example, we're going to talk about storytelling and sales. Lots of fun. But other than that, stay safe. We're in Chicago. We're going into the week 9 of shelter in place. It's important to do. Unfortunately, I've heard stories in the last couple of weeks from friends who are in some of the areas that have been really hit bad with this pandemic. And I've heard some stories that are pretty gnarly. And so we've got to take care of not only ourselves, but also those who can't necessarily take care of themselves as well. For example, the elderly, the people with immunocompromised systems, all that kind of stuff. So if you are at home and can stay at home, do that. If you have to go out, be safe, obviously. And, make sure you're saying thank you to the people that are keeping things running. The grocery store cashier, the kid stocking the shelves, the bus drivers, the train drivers, the delivery drivers, the postmen, the postwomen, and of course, all of our frontline workers in the hospitals and the healthcare system. If you know any of those people, please say thank you for me. And until we talk again, be patient, be kind, take care of one another. See you, everybody. Thanks. Bye.